Your daily dose of sports talk is here. Highlights, interviews, and analysis. From the entertainment capital of the world, SportsWrap with Jason Page starts now.
Welcome to it, this Monday edition of the show. It's so much to do over the next 60 minutes. I'm Jason. We'll be joined by Sam Yarnell, a couple of minutes. Also, Bill Bender, be here to talk college hoops. From the sporting news, our friend Jerry Bonkowski swings by to talk NASCAR from EssentiallySports.com. He does a great job on NASCAR. Every Monday we recap what happened in NASCAR. Baseball, top three storylines from the opening weekend of Major League Baseball season. Sam Yarnell and myself will recap those. A great story, a feel-good story in odds and ends to pair with a not-so-feel-good story in odds and ends. That coming up to wrap up the show. But we start things out as we always do. On this Monday, it's time for the big story. And the big story is what happened in college basketball this weekend, and in particular, yesterday afternoon in the nation's capital, where Braylon Mullins hit this miracle three to give UConn a dramatic come-from-behind win over Duke in the Elite Eight to advance to the Final Four. Cue it up, Maestro!
To go. Got to cut and run through the ball. And who better than this guy? Get it into Boozer. Back for Sarr. Ahead. Boozer. That ball deflected and stolen by Mullins. Caravan, 2 seconds. Mullins tosses it up. Oh! It's good. We're point three. UConn goes in front.
Amazing. There's no other word to describe it. You know, it's one of those moments that makes March in college basketball so special. And it feels like we hadn't had one of those in a while. I feel like we had a couple of near ones in this NCAA tournament. The kid from Vanderbilt who almost hit a shot from beyond half court that would have capped a miracle win for that school. And instead, the miracle moment comes from UConn. And isn't that a bit apropos? And I explain why here in just a moment. Because for all the talk about the great schools and the great coaches and the great programs in college basketball these days, there's something that I think people continue to overlook when we talk about college basketball. And it's this, that Connecticut is really the center of the basketball universe. Not just the men's game, but the women's game. And I think it's something that, and I rarely ever talk about my Connecticut roots. I'm originally from Connecticut. I cut my teeth there in broadcasting. I didn't go to UConn or Yale or anything like that. But obviously you grow up around those schools and you hope for their success. And I'm not some UConn sycophant by any means for anybody who's known me over the years. But it's time that UConn get its shine. That the University of Connecticut get the respect it deserves. And it's kind of remarkable because for the last 25 years, Connecticut has been the center of the basketball universe if you actually sit and look at it. Go and ask your Google or go and ask your Gemini or your Alexa about who's won the most college basketball national championships on the men's side since the year 2000. That's a generation. The best team of the generation in men's college basketball. You know who it's been? It's been UConn. And it's frankly not even that close. 6 national championships for the University of Connecticut. 6 since the year 2000. 2004, 2011, 2014, 2023, 2024. And now an opportunity to win a 6th in 2026. So I'm sorry, 5 with a chance to win a 6th. Make sure I get it right. 5 national championships. You know how many the next closest is? 3. They've almost lapped the field here. North Carolina, 2005, 2009, 2017. They haven't won one in a while. Everybody loves to talk about Duke. John Shire and this great coach and all. Duke hasn't won anything in over a decade now. Florida, oh my God. They've won twice. Kansas, twice. Villanova, twice. Kentucky, twice. It's UConn's world. They're all just living in it. And not enough people talk about this. Because it doesn't have the glitz and the glamour of Coach K and Roy Williams and Dean Smith and John Calipari and the flashy suit. UConn's the center of the basketball universe. The women's team. We could do the same. We could have the same conversation on the women's team, which, by the way, is going back to the Final Four again this year under Gino Auriemma. UConn women, 11 national championships. I got that number right. Since the start of this decade under Gino Auriemma. And that was with a 9-year break where they didn't win any and allowed the field to catch up a little. You know how many the next closest is? 3. South Carolina. 3. Baylor. We see you, Kim Mulkey. Connecticut's the center of the basketball universe. People better start getting wise to it. That's where all the attention should be. Not on these guys that have their commercials. You don't see Alex Caravan in a commercial. You don't see Terrace Reed in a commercial. You don't see Braylon Mullins in a commercial, Mr. Basketball Indiana. We see you. No, they're not the boozers. And they're not the A-Cuffs and the Petersons and all these guys that are being talked about in the draft. No, they just win every year. And we love to talk so much about the flash and the glitz and who's getting this money and who's getting that money. Let's just talk about who's winning. Like Al Davis used to say here in Las Vegas, well, back then in California with the Raiders, just win, baby. That's all UConn's done for the last generation. And yet they don't get the shine that a lot of these other schools do. Why is that? It's because the media has its narratives. It's because the ESPNs of the world and the Fox Sports of the world, they'd rather talk about those other schools as if they're still the schools from 25, 30 years ago. They're not. They're not as good as UConn. This portion of the show is presented by our friends at Colossus Fantasy. Pick'em games, peer-to-peer, they got it all. Right now, use my promo code SportsWrap when you make your first deposit. $10 deposit gets you a $40 bonus. $20 deposit gets you an $80 bonus. Go have some fun. Check it out. Colossus Fantasy. Go download the app today. Use my promo code SportsWrap for that great bonus. We're coming back. Bill Bender, the Sporting News, will join us. Sam Yarnell will be here too. We're talking college basketball next. Welcome back to the show. I talked about it in the big story, and now let's expand upon it bigly with this guy and this guy. Bill Bender is here from the Sporting News, does a great job on college hoops, college football, hangs out with us. Sam Yarnell joins us for the first time as well. Guys, that is what it's all about, man. My vocal cords actually hurt this morning. And I can't remember the last time, other than when I go to like a Journey concert or a Foreigner concert, and I'm literally screaming out the words to every single song, and then the next day I can't talk. Other than that, I very rarely have this kind of pain
cut and run through the ball
that exists in my throat right now. Let's talk about it, guys. I mean, you know, Braylon Mullins hits the shot heard around the world. I asked the question, is it bigger? And Bill, you're of a certain age, so you might remember this a little better. You certainly remember it better than Sam. Is it better than Tate George against Clemson?
I mean, for UConn's sake, yes. I mean, I would have to say yes because they beat Duke. And this shot to me is equal parts amazing shot by Mullins and Duke choke.
Oh, you know? God, can we not? You and Sam, really? Are we going to take this away from UConn that went out there in the second half? And it wasn't like it was an avalanche of points. They just kept chipping and chipping and chipping. And yeah, Duke had a couple of turnovers, you know, in the final 5 minutes. But UConn had a couple of bad possessions too. I mean, I don't get this choke thing that everybody's talking about.
It is 100% about Duke. A rare disagreement with Jason because You have a free throw shooter who is 32 of 36 from the line in the tournament, 88%. And you want to do 2-3 passes and try to do a walk-off dunk. I think they outcoach themselves. And then you leave and they don't even contest the three. Plus, on top of everything, it's Duke. People love watching Duke lose. And I'm not, you everything you said is true about UConn. There's no doubt. And we can go down is this better than the Leitner shot? Is this better than Lorenzo Charles or Jalen Suggs or Chris Jenkins? But I mean, to me, I rewatched that probably 40 times last night, and I wasn't watching it for the shot. I was watching it for the how could you mess this up? Sorry, rare disagreement with you.
Oh, my God. Sam, go ahead.
Well, Bill, I want to talk about it from a coaching aspect for a second because there's a lot of noise around Jon Scheyer, and frankly, it's well warranted, right? You talk about there's so much comparison that we make between Jon Scheyer and Mike Krzyzewski, and what people forget so quickly is that regular season winning is what gets you to be the Duke head coach. Postseason winning is what keeps you the Duke head coach, and that's something that Mike Krzyzewski never faltered in throughout his entire tenure, throughout his entire tenure as the Duke head coach. You look at Jon Scheyer now, and just in the last 3 NCAA tournaments, you have this blown 19-point lead to UConn with at least one presumptive top 15 lottery pick in the upcoming NBA draft. In the last Final Four, you had a blown 14-point lead to Houston when you had not the Rookie of the Year in the NBA, but the top 2 contenders for Rookie of the Year in the NBA on that very team. And the year before that, with another loaded team, they blow a 9-point lead to NC State in the Elite Eight. Whether or not it's warranted, the noise around Jon Scheyer is 100% there, Bill. Do you think it becomes loud enough as it did for Hubert Davis just down the road for Duke to move on from Scheyer?
Not yet, but to your point, when you have the best player in college basketball each of the last 2 seasons and you can't win a national title, and somebody, whether it's, I think it cuts both ways here. So yes, Jon Scheyer is going to feel all that. And to Jason's point, to support what he was saying earlier, Dan Hurley becomes the maestro, the coach, if there's any doubt about who the best coach in college basketball is right now, it's probably Dan Hurley, all the sideline stuff and the way that they didn't freak out. Yes, they were down by a lot Sunday, just like they were up by a lot Friday, and they handled the emotions of that Michigan State game that could have easily gone the other way. And now you get him in a field where the 3 other coaches, Brad Underwood, Dusty May, Tommy Lloyd, are trying to win their first one. And, UConn is still an underdog. And as somebody texted me last night, he couldn't believe UConn got to the Final Four because the last national championship team he felt like would dust this team. But that doesn't matter. Each year is different.
And that's what makes, I think, this year so impressive. It's easily, I think, Hurley's best coaching job to have this team in the Final Four. It's on the coaching thing. I'm so tired of hearing about, this coach needs to be fired, that coach needs. All right, who are you replacing Scheyer with that you can guarantee me is going to win a national championship next year? There's only one team that wins a national championship every year. This tournament is one of the toughest gauntlets, and you figured out why yet again last night. That is the case. The longer I think about the Hubert Davis thing, and I plan to talk about this more in the next segment, Bill, but we'll just bounce around here. I don't get it. Who are you getting that's going to be better? That's going to, it's not easy to go from, Dean Smith to Roy Williams, but let's just say for the sake of Roy Williams, very few schools are as lucky as Connecticut to go from Jim Calhoun to Kevin Ollie, who immediately wins another national title, then Dan Hurley, who wins 2 of them. It just doesn't go that way. Look what Syracuse is having to learn right now without Jim Boeheim. It's the same sort of thing. And this knee-jerk reaction to fire the coach. He's not getting it done. We saw what happened with Kentucky and Calipari. I'm sorry. I think people are missing the boat on this in some regard. This knee-jerk reaction that we're seeing.
Well, I think with North Carolina, it was more that was a slow burn. They were living off. He did make a national championship game, though, right? And then, like you said, it is a gauntlet. There are no guarantees. We spend years. Jon Scheyer, to me, and I'd said this on this show, I think was, in my opinion, maybe the best coach without a national title. The younger coach too. But I mean, you could say Kelvin Sampson or Dusty May or whoever. But I mean, to get to the Final Four 2 straight years, to kind of almost not a seamless transition, but is about as seamless as you can be going from K to Shire. So yeah, I think there will be some heat on him. But I mean, nobody takes losing easy. But it was a missed opportunity to get to the Final Four. And they would have been favored against Illinois, and they would have been maybe favored in the national title game. I don't know. That Arizona-Michigan game looks like it could be the best of what college basketball has to offer.
Yeah, it certainly will. We will do more with Bill Bender here coming up in a couple of minutes. We'll talk a little bit more about Arizona and Michigan and continue this conversation, and I'll try to convince him in the commercial break that I am right. It's about UConn. The story is UConn. We're coming back. All right, we continue the conversation on the college hoops. Bill Bender is here from the Sporting News. Hangs out with us every Monday on the show. I'm going to miss this when the season's over, Bill. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to miss this. What, Sam?
Jason, when this is over, we're going to have, I think 1 week until we need to start doing NFL draft prep.
So I said, college football will be here in 3 weeks, so we're fine.
Fair enough. I talked about this in the big story for a couple of minutes. We talk about the Dukes of the world and the Boozer brothers, and I was just thinking about it as I was doing the big story today. You know who you don't see in commercials? You don't see Terrace Reed. You don't see Alex Caravan, who's one of the winningest, college basketball players with what he's done throughout his career at UConn, and a chance to win a 3rd national championship. And you see all these guys getting all this love and all this cash, and you don't see that with the UConn guys. And here they are, national championship. 2 wins away from another national championship with this group, Bill.
I'm going to poke him again, Sam. You do see Azzy Fudd. And on that,
that's on the women's though.
Yeah,
that team's won 54 games in a row.
Wait. You have Jason. Here's what I'm sorry. I'm going to answer the question for Bill because you're confusing 2 things. The marketability of basketball players is very different, especially in 2026, from the talent of basketball players. Alex Caravan's been around college basketball. He knows the ropes, yada, yada, yada. AJ Dybonsa is one of the greatest high school basketball players the United States has ever seen. He lit up the AAU circuit for years. They were talking about him foregoing college basketball. He was so good at it. So, I don't want to sound like a player when I say this, but there's levels to this kind of thing. You know what I mean? These guys were marketed for years just coming into college, as opposed to an Alex Caravan or a Terrace Reed who made their name for themselves in college. Azzy Fudd, one of the greatest women's high school basketball players we've seen in the last 5 years.
I'm not talking about the women, I'm just talking about the men.
To Jason's point, Terrace Reed has probably been the best player in the tournament. And if he hasn't been, it's been Yaxel Lindeborg with Michigan. And if he hasn't been, it's been Burries and Pete and Arizona's entire army of scorers. So, there are plenty of things to talk about. And I think in this Final Four, both of those things collide. You have experienced players like Caravan and Yaxel, and then you have the freshman, Keaton Wagler, being another one in Illinois. With Mirkovic. So it's that, does the freshman or the veteran work? And I think both games, it's weird. My early prediction on both, I picked UConn and Michigan, but these spreads are small, 2 points or less. It could easily be Illinois and Arizona on Monday night. And I think that leads to, just people were complaining about the Elite Eight being boring. It wasn't boring for about the last 10 minutes.
Sam Yarnell.
Yeah. And that's when I texted. I was like, are you guys still bored with Duke and UConn? So, yeah, I think the Final Four ought to be good, too.
Yeah, our buddy Scott Farrell was like, I turned the game off at the half and went and watched a movie. He was all upset. All right, so break down. Hey, what are we missing with Illinois? Because, it feels like nobody's talking about them right now.
Tall. They play great defense. You're going to get a slugfest there. I mean, the late game will be, the running and the scoring and the dunks and all that. The early game could be ugly, like in terms of you're going to have to claw to score. They've given up 60 points or less in every tournament game. So they're tall. Mirkovic and Wagler have played well. They've got great role players. Boswell holds it together. Very similar to UConn, but maybe a little bit taller in the paint. And, they've got the veteran players that can knock down shots too. Some international flavor on the team. Brad Underwood's done a nice job. Haven't been to the Final Four in 21 years, so I'm sure they'll be excited about it.
Sam?
Bill, I have to ask you. I mean, Jason mentioned it. I was talking his ear off over the weekend about the problem that college basketball has with all these one seeds. And I went back and did the math, right? So in the last 3 tournaments, and you now have to count Duke out of this, so it is 8 of the 12 Final Four teams in the last 3 tournaments have been 1 seeds. And in the 3 tournaments before that, I think it was 3 of the 12 Final Four teams were 1 seeds. As we see the evolution of NIL and the transfer portal and yada, 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 and the change of college sports, is it ruining what we for so many years considered March Madness? Is it just making it March Chalk?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I'd rather watch
it's fine.
it. Yeah, it's fine because I would rather watch these matchups on Easter weekend. I think on the women's side, it's a little more pronounced, right? Where you kind of pencil in the 1 seeds where you're going to get UConn and probably UConn, South Carolina, and probably Texas, UCLA. And, I think the women's game's catching up in terms of having 5 through 20 actually be able to compete for the national championship. And I think on the men's side, we proved last night, UConn, they're a 2, but they weren't supposed to win. And Illinois was a 3. And maybe we're not getting as many double-digit seeds in the Final Four. But, if anybody's complaining around 11 o'clock on Saturday night when Michigan and Arizona are going up and down, that's the matchup we wanted to see. And Arizona has a chance to get a rare triple crown. It's really hard to win your conference tournament, and then turn around and win the national title. It doesn't happen often. That UConn team did it a couple years ago, and here's Arizona with the chance to do it. But, man, Michigan's playing well. So there's a lot to see there in that game.
My bracket before the NCAA tournament started was UConn and Michigan. Who do you have in the Final Four, Bill?
Well, I got 3 of the 4 right and would have had 4 if Mullins wouldn't have knocked that shot down. I would have had all 4. So I had Duke and Michigan, and now I have UConn and Michigan. I think the way the Wolverines are playing, it'll come down to which one of those teams is comfortable if both teams are in the 80s. And just like in the UConn-Illinois game, it's going to be who's more comfortable if this is around 72 to 68, which I think UConn wins. I think they get Michigan. I think that'll draw a lot of eyeballs because the Wolverines will be trying to win their first title for the Big Ten since 2000 for themselves since 89. And UConn could go 3-4. And, I mean, that's stuff that, like, Nick Saban does. So Dan Hurley will just continue to get praise and all those kind of things. It's going to be a riveting weekend.
It's rarefied air, 3 out of 4. Who was the last to win 3 and 4? Do we know? I know Calipari was the last to appear in 3 out of 4 with Kentucky, but I don't know who the last to win 3 out of 4 was.
I would assume John Wooden, right?
Yeah, it would have to be UCLA without looking. I mean, I know Florida went 2 back-to-back, but it's hard enough to get to the Final Four back-to-back.
Yeah, it certainly is. Bill Bender, the Sporting News. Bill, it's been fun all season. We'll see you next week.
Hey, sounds good, guys. We'll talk to you then.
Welcome back on this Monday. Odds and Ends wraps it up in 10 minutes with, as great as Braylon Mullins' story was yesterday, the story of the day might have actually been in golf, and a lot of you may not know about it, but we'll tell you about it coming up. Sam Yarnell, baseball is underway. I watched so much of it this weekend, and then I watched like 5 minutes of the NBA. I felt so bad. I barely watched any NBA this weekend. There were some good games there. All right, Sam Yarnell. 3 storylines from MLB's opening weekend. We begin with number 3. And number 3 is the rookies around Major League Baseball, Sam Yarnell. Munetaka Murakami, wow. Chase DeLauder, wow. But let's start with Munetaka Murakami playing on an 0-3 White Sox team. I thought they were actually going to get their first win yesterday. They blew that in the 8th inning. But Mooney, as they like to call him, raking 3 home runs, and the early transition to Major League Baseball looking pretty good for him.
Yeah, it's incredible to see, Jason. And we talked a little bit about this in our preview. He was one of the guys to watch. But I'll tell you, this rookie class has a chance to be historic. And you saw it over the weekend. And hopefully, one of my overreactions, my friends and I were doing, what are your overreactions from the first?
Yeah.
I think this rookie class could be comparable to what we saw in the late 90s with all of these massive home run hitters all over Major League Baseball. I think it could bring in the attention to baseball around a contract dispute that could help save the sport. It is incredible to see what these guys have done just through the weekend.
I love it. Chase DeLauder, 4 home runs over the first, 3 games of the season or whatever it is for the Guardians. What do you got, a Chase DeLauder autograph or something? Oh, is that where he went? There you go. Yeah, and he's right out of Central Casting, Sam. He looks the part, he plays the part, and he could be a big difference maker. We all picked Detroit, I think, to win that division, and we figure the Guardians will be in the mix, but he could be a real difference maker on that team. It's not just Jose Ramirez and everybody else.
You said it exactly. If they can provide this in a lineup with Jose Ramirez already in it and Steven Kwan still in that lineup too, one of the best on-base guys in the game, it's incredible to see from the JMU alum. I was fortunate enough to see Chase play in college. They were in Hofstra's conference back when we were both in college together, and every time he came to town, it was appointment viewing. Everyone knew this kid was going to be good. Maybe the ugliest left-handed swing in Major League Baseball today, but he gets the job done, right, man, and he gets the job done at a historic clip.
Sam Yarnell, number 2.
Number 2, Jason Page. Number 2 from the opening weekend of baseball warms my heart more than maybe anything. More than every 26-year-old, every 20-something out there who loves baseball loves to see Mike Trout once again for at least a couple of days being the best player in the game. And boy, did he show out in Houston for their opening series. I think he was 6 for 13. He's hitting darn near 500. He's got more walks than he's got hits. He's got 2 bombs. He's doing everything, making outstanding plays in the field, stole a base as well. Like, Mike Trout is back to early 2010s Mike Trout form. I saw a hilarious tweet that I couldn't go back and find, but shout out to whoever tweeted this out. It was like, Mike Trout is going to be inspirational for future generations, and it's great to see Mike Trout back in his MVP form. By the way, I'm 27 years old. It's incredible to see Mike Trout once again playing at the very top of the game, Jason. There's truly nothing better.
Yeah, I agree. And look, when he's healthy, it's a joy to watch. Just got to hope he can stay healthy, and that's what Angels fans are obviously hoping for. They won 2 out of 3, I believe, this weekend in Houston against the Astros. And we were talking similarly, while I just have a second, about Giancarlo Stanton, who's off to this insane start for the Yankees, tearing the cover off the baseball as they swept the Giants this weekend. And it's the same sort of thing. When he's on the field, his productivity is hard to match. It's just, can you keep him healthy and on the field? He can't open a bag of chips, but he was mashing all weekend for the Yankees. Story number 1, it has to be ABS. I mean, the opening weekend of Major League Baseball, and teams are starting to figure it out quickly how to use this thing. CB Buckner did not have a good weekend. Let's just say that. Behind home plate for the Reds and Red Sox, he got it multiple times. And you know what? I love this because it's going to start to flush it out. And everybody's going to see, and it's going to be on display, the Laz Diaz's and the CB Buckners of the world that can't figure out where the hell the strike zone is when you've been an umpire for a zillion years. They're going to get called out over and over again. And I hope it calls to attention and eventually starts to rid the game of some of these home plate umpires that don't have a clue, Sam.
Yeah, it is. There is going to be a very interesting development period that you're going to see. Couple of things from you mentioned it, right? The CB Buckner thing, maybe the most electric moment from Great American Ballpark of the entire weekend. They were saying on the broadcast it was the loudest crowd pop of a game that had multiple home runs in it, which is just hilarious to see a guy like CB Buckner, who you and I have talked about being horrible at his job for years, finally getting exposed on the most national stage of them all. I think it's been very interesting to see the kind of ratios of who's challenging what and what rate the challenges are being successful. First of all, pitchers suck, and it's very clear that teams have told the pitchers, you're not allowed to challenge, you're just gonna think everything's a strike. And I think pitchers are 1 for 4 through their challenges. Catchers are incredible. Credit to catchers once again. They're challenging at like a 60% clip, and then the hitters fall more right in the middle. But that has been the most interesting thing to me, to kind of figure out what baseline rules each club have for their battery.
We're coming back and talking NASCAR. Jerry Bonkowski joins us next. In the midst of everything that went on this weekend in sports, there was a NASCAR race. And I feel bad because it feels like it's so hard for some of these leagues and sports to get eyeballs. We're going to talk about it in odds and ends. Gary Woodland, won this amazing golf event this weekend, and it's an incredible story, and nobody saw it. Yeah. Because everybody's watching the Final Four and start of baseball season, all this stuff. Jerry Bonkowski joins us every Monday on the show to help us catch up on anything you missed from NASCAR. Fridays we talk Tino, Mondays we talk to Jerry, and we get all the NASCAR stuff in. And it was a great race this weekend at Martinsville, where Chase Elliott outduels Denny Hamlin to win the Food City 400. I can never remember the Cookout 400. Sorry, Cookout 400. I knew it had something to do with food. So there you go. So Chase Elliott wins, and what makes me even more mad that I didn't get to watch. I watched some of it, but I didn't get to watch all of it. Is I love short track racing, and some people do and some people don't. But there was plenty of drama in this race, Jerry, and a great win for Chase Elliott, who now has a couple on the season.
Well, no, that's actually his first.
This was his first. Okay, this was his first.
Sure. But, I feel bad for Denny because, he dominated the race. And then, late in the race, he kind of fell back a little bit. And then he was trying to play catch up to Chase. And Chase just had a better car in the long run. But I feel bad for Denny. I thought for sure this was going to be his. He's won there, 6 or 7 times already. But you can't take anything away from Chase. He's had some struggles this year. He's had some struggles actually for the last year and a half, roughly. So it's good to see him finally getting a win. Well, does it mean he's going to go on a tear like Tyler Reddick and win 3 in a row? Probably not, but it's given him some confidence. And the thing that really surprised me most, Jason, is that going into this race, if you were a Team Hendrick fan, it was like the sky is falling. We haven't won anything. We're 6 races in. We haven't won a race yet. And people were saying, "What's wrong with Hendrick?" Nothing's wrong with Hendrick. It's just the circumstances of the race. It's a cyclical sport, so it's good to see that Hendrick's got to win. But I think you're going to see even more guys, start winning. We may see Tyler Reddick win another race. When we come to Bristol in a couple of weeks, that's a great place for him too as well. So kudos to Chase, but I still am a little disappointed for Denny. You got to feel for the guy. 200 some laps that he led out of 391, I think it was, and he doesn't wind up winning.
He's already got to win this year, though.
Yeah, but I want to see him do another 6-win season. I think he can do it, and hopefully maybe this time, knock on wood, he'll finally get that championship. If there's anybody in this world of sports that deserves a championship more, it's Denny Hamlin.
You got to tell me what happened with Bubba Wallace and Carson Hocevar in this race, because Bubba Wallace basically ran right through Carson Hocevar. And then afterwards he was like, I wasn't happy about what he did in turn 3, but, I kind of caught his corner. I didn't see him. It felt a little more intentional than that to those of us that were watching.
I agree with you. And I'll say this, that incident, it didn't surprise me because Carson Hocevar, I'm going to come out and say it. I'm not a big fan of his.
Oh, he's like Tom Cruise in Days of Thunder. He's crazy. It's not changing, by the way. Like,
that's right.
A lot of times guys will mature and evolve. I don't see that with him.
Well, see, the thing I mean, he's got talent. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But the thing that bugs me about Carson is that he sticks his nose into things sometimes when he shouldn't, like yesterday with the Bubba incident. Bubba did say he was sorry about it. He apologized. I give that credit to Bubba for that. But Carson, I don't know if you remember this, but back about, when was it? Maybe October, I think it was, of last year. Carson came out with a video, an AI-generated video that got everybody in NASCAR talking, and he was talking about how he was going to save this restaurant in his hometown. It was a Chili's restaurant, which is one of his sponsors. He was going to have Sabrina Carpenter as maitre d'. I mean, it was the most jokingly ridiculous video that I've ever seen, but he kept put it out there and people actually believed it. I actually believed it for a few minutes until I did a little checking and realized it was just an AI generated thing. But you don't, if you're a professional athlete, I don't care if it's NASCAR, MLB, NFL, whatever, you don't do something like that. It just makes you look bad, makes your sport look bad. Maybe he meant it in fun. I would have seen, okay, if he would have done that on April 1st, on April Fool's Day, I'd put up with it. But I mean, he got a lot of big fallout from that post. So that's part of the reason why I don't like him. But I think he needs to be mature. He's not a mature driver. And Bubba was like that way early on in his career too. So it's not just only Carson Hocevar. I mean, a lot of these guys when they're young, they have the same problem where their egos are overinflated. They run out of talent before they should, that kind of thing. So I give credit to Bubba, but yeah, it was a wild incident for sure.
Jerry, who is happiest for this break that's coming up for Easter, for the extra week off? Which driver do you think is the happiest to sort of have this opportunity to sort of reset coming out of this Easter break?
Well, and this may sound like a little bit of a stretch, but I'm looking at Daniel Suarez. I mean, he started off pretty good this season. I was actually very impressed with what he did the first few races, but I look at the standings now, he's 20th, so he's got to get, he and Spire Motorsports have to get their act back together for this season. He's got good cars. I mean, it's just the last couple of races, he's just not had the finishes that he and Spire have been looking for. So he's one guy that I'm looking at. And then, you look at other guys like a Kyle Busch, he's 24th. I mean, come on, two-time champion. He can't buy a win. So Those are the two guys. I mean, and RCR has been getting a lot of flack this year about their performance, and rightly so in a lot of ways. So I'd love to see Kyle. He's won several times at Bristol. His brother dominated there for years. Rusty Wallace dominated there at place for years. I'd like to see Kyle, come back as well too. Because I mean, if he doesn't get better than he was last year, which was really a horrible year, it was the worst season ever. If he's worse this year than he is last year, he's not coming back next year. I mean, there's talk about him going to another team. I don't see it happening. I think that he'll be done this year if things don't turn around very quickly for him.
Jerry Bonkowski, EssentiallySports.com is where you can check out his work. He does a great job with NASCAR, joins us every Monday on the show. Enjoy the Easter break, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Have a good holiday weekend.
Odds and ends are next. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Monday, but before we do, a couple of reminders. If you haven't done so yet already, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, available wherever you get your podcast. It's the audio version of this show, available Monday through Friday, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to us Monday through Friday while you're driving to work, on the treadmill, in the shower, laying in bed, on a plane. 45 minutes, largely commercial free. Go and subscribe. We also have the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel, which if you have not subscribed yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. Amazing content there every day. The TV version of the show, Monday through Friday, commercial free, available there, 45 minutes waiting for you every afternoon. Also, Sports Wrap shorts are there. These are 1 to 3 minute long videos. We did so many of them yesterday, I lost track. Because when news breaks, we can't always just jump on your television. So that's why you have the YouTube channel. News breaks, big game. We jump in. Sports Wrap shorts available there. Also, clips from the show, extended segments, conversations that we can't fit into the show. It's all there waiting for you Monday through Friday. Again, Sports Wrap shorts also available on our TikTok, Sports Wrap Jason Page, and on our Instagram. You guessed it, Sports Wrap Jason Page. And now, without any further delay on this Monday, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell. You know what, man? The feel-good story of the entire weekend in sports. Why am I by myself on the screen? Here, let's add Sam. Oh, there he is. Sam, the feel-good story of the weekend in sports has to be Gary Woodland winning the PGA Tour event this weekend in Houston. I think it was like the Texas Children's Hospital. I don't know. It used to be the Shell or the Valero. I don't know. Anyway, he wins after not winning for 6 years. His last win, I believe, was the U.S. Open 6+ years ago. Then he had brain surgery, was out of action, comes back. He's been openly discussing his battles with PTSD. He goes out there and wins by 5 shots yesterday. Easily the most popular win in all of sports this weekend.
Yeah, it was an incredible story. And it was a runaway victory, too. Like, it gave us some time to really soak it in throughout the course of Sunday and be able to appreciate it for what it was, Jason. But it really was unfortunate that it was... This was the time that we had to get this feel-good golf story.
Yeah.
It was so overshadowed by another horrible golf story.
Yep, it was. But congratulations to Gary Woodland. Everybody happy for him. And look, going into the Masters playing really good golf right now. He was playing pretty well and starting to ramp up coming into this. Now has that going into the Masters. Speaking of the Masters, will Tiger Woods be there or not? I still think he's going to be there, but the story is the DUI that took place on Friday, the breaking news on Friday afternoon. We jumped in with a SportsWrap short on it. We jumped in with a video on it. It was part of our weekend show as well. But Sam, it looks so bad on so many levels. There is more to get into on it than we have time for in odds and ends, but I wanted to make sure we at least gave it a couple of minutes. The guy needs help. I don't know who's going to be the person that intervention. I don't know. It's just, and we haven't heard from Tiger since getting out of jail. And I doubt we will hear all that much because he's one of the most secretive athletes, one of the most secretive stars that we've had in the history of sports. But Sam, I wanted to give you a minute here.
Yeah, it's a joke. It's just an absolute and complete joke. I get it. You want to keep doing whatever you're doing. You know, we all have vices, right? And let's not pretend. You have vices. I have vices. Freaking my best friends have vices.
I'm holding chips in my hand right now. You're looking at my vice.
Exactly, and it's all fine, right? Those are all fine because they just affect us. They just affect ourselves. Yeah. When you do something like this and you start to put just other random innocent people in danger, it crosses a line. And it doesn't matter whether you're, one of the 10 richest athletes of all time or just another average Joe. It's just not something that is acceptable in society. It's something that, quite frankly, and this not being the first instance of this, it just makes it all that much worse. So I'm not going to sit here and say it's sad. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I feel bad for him. I don't. Things have to change. This is not a human being that we can continue to allow out into society. We all know somebody who's been affected by an impaired driver. I'm sure you know somebody who's been in an accident with an impaired driver.
Friend died.
I know somebody who died.
I have a friend who got killed by a drunk driver.
Sure, I have a friend who got killed by an impaired driver. I've been hit by an impaired driver, right? These are things that affect real people in the real world. So as much as these rich people want to drive their fancy cars and live these exotic lives that they continue to live, it's all fine and well and do whatever you want until you start to affect real people in the real world. That's where we have to draw the line. If Tiger Woods has to go to jail to get this all sorted out, then so be it, because a person like this can't just be left to run around the streets of America.
And there are certainly questions about whether or not he will wind up having to serve time for this, given what happened in 2021 and what's happened before that as well, with him driving impaired as it may be. And he certainly made a move by not allowing them to do a urine sample, which would have tested for drugs. So we'll see how it all plays out. We'll obviously cover it in the coming days. That's going to wrap it up for this Monday edition of the show. Thanks to Bill Bender. Thanks to Jerry Bonkowski. Thanks to you, as always, Sam Yarnell. We will be back here tomorrow. Tom Moore on the show, UConn General Manager for the men's basketball program. I'm Jason Page. That wraps it up for SportsWrap. We'll see you tomorrow.